Together, we're making a difference. Have the entire background to the story, and it is going to make you.
In this musical film, Sean Rich unveiling the truth to you. Weekdays at 2:30 p.m. Eastern, 11:30 a.m. Pacific.
Have common sense. Let's see it. When you first on the slide.
We're back on TOD Jenk and Anna with you guys. Also, Don Robinson, EW, Christy Clements, C-SPAN 21. Thank you guys for joining and Fast Time. Sewell, thank you for giving 10 young person memberships on YouTube. I love this community from artists. Thank you, Mikey.com. Howdy Doody, thank you. And Lacey Dollar, thank you for the contributions, guys. Awesome. And Hastings Smith, thank you for joining. And by the way, if you join through TYT.com, annual memberships gets you 2 months of so think about that. Look, overall, guys, you're supporting us, and especially at a time like this, we appreciate it. And we love it. And again, this community here is, it's called, we're going to build it and build it and build it. It's open-minded, open-minded, and we're going to try to change this country for the better. We're going to talk to everybody, we're going to listen to everybody, we're going to the right solutions. Yeah.
Well, let's sort of a little bit about some moves that the Trump administration is making in regard to migrant detention, and this involves a foreign country, so take a look.
Suddenly you're hit with the intense gaze of dozens locking onto you. These men described as the worst of the worst, tattooed with reminders of El Salvador's dark past. It's tense and uncomfortable. But here, officials say comfort isn't meant to exist.
There's no mattresses, there's no sheets. You've got tools over here for that in the bathroom. You've got this basin here that they use to bathe themselves. And then you can see the there's some air water that they can drink from.
This is a rare look inside El Salvador's terrorism confinement center.
Well, the terrorism confinement center might be used in the near future to detain convicted immigrants in the United States that would be deported. These are undocumented individuals who have allegedly committed crimes and have been convicted of crimes. Now, Secretary of State Marco Rubio is singing the praises of El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele, who agreed to detain these convicted criminals that have been deported by the United States, but also suggested that maybe we'll consider also detaining some American felons as well. Now that's illegal, and luckily, even Marco Rubio has his limits. The Secretary of State made it clear that that's illegal. They're not going to do that, but they're definitely looking to, use these prisons in El Salvador to detain undocumented immigrants who have committed crimes in the United States. So here's what Bukele announced on X. We have offered the United States of America the opportunity to outsource part of its prison system. We're willing to take in only convicted criminals, including convicted U.S. citizens into our mega prison, CCOT, in exchange for a fee. The fee would be relatively low for the US, but significant for us, making our entire prison system sustainable. Now, playing Jake Gifford now is anti-Casparian, because I'm about to go after the media and how they've reported on this story. Look how they mentions a small fee. Not a single piece of this delved into what the fee is exactly. And it's incredibly frustrating. That's my rant on media. Luckily, again, Rio said that we will not be sending Americans who have convicted of crimes to these prisons, but there are some huge issues with how these prisons are run. The inhumane conditions, which I'll get into in just a moment. Jake, what are your thoughts so far?
Yeah, so two separate issues for me. The U.S. citizen one is super good. No U.S. citizens here. Not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen because it's a ridiculous idea and totally illegal and outrageous. And by the way, always should do another foot, guys. So if you're MAGA and you're like, well, they're criminal, maybe we send out something. Okay, well, what if the Democrats are in charge and they've convicted Donald Trump? And then they sent him down something. Like sending any U.S. citizen down some prisons is insanity. Okay? So it's a terrible idea. And by the way, MAGA religion. And so then if you're on the left and you don't believe me, okay, no, okay. The America First cares about U.S. citizens. So maybe I'm wrong, and maybe they'll love the idea, oh yes, send all the U.S. citizens down some torture camps or whatever, right? So, what I do. So now, on to the actual issue. Look, I like taking care of our own business. So I don't like farming out to any other country or anything else. And I get it. We want to deport the criminals that are here that are undocumented. I agree with it. So I don't care what anybody says. Like, we should keep criminals. No. Okay. And by the way, I don't know a lot of people are saying that. They're dancing around it, but they're not directly saying it. So no, criminals are wrong. Okay, here. Now, we're a country. We don't need outside. And I'm not interested in sending people to a lawless Guantanamo. I'm not interested in sending them to a lawless El Salvador, where you have to go to the bathroom with a bucket and have things that we just saw in that video, etc. We don't need it, and we don't need to send money there, and we don't need any of it. And so, why does America, the number one superpower in the world, need El Salvador's prisons? We don't. And so this talk is just to make it so like, we're going to get them, we're just going to go over these children, and they're going to see it stuff. As long as it's okay, fine. MAGA asks for that talk, they're getting for that. You start sending anybody down the side. If the U.S. says it's outside, we're going to be huge trouble. You send these detainees, it's still a terrible thing.
Kelly said that criminals deported by the United States would go to, because I want to make sure that we have the facts right. The video that you just saw is the video showing you this terrorist confinement center, okay? So Kelly said that criminals deported by the United States would go to the terrorist confinement center, a prison built to house 40,000 people. Human rights groups have documented extreme overcrowding. I mean, we just showed you footage of that in El Salvador's prisons and reports of torture by guards. El Salvador actually signed a similar agreement back in 2019. This was part of Donald Trump's third country agreement, essentially having third countries detain undocumented immigrants that have committed crimes in the United States. But that deal was never implemented due to COVID-19 and the pandemic. So El Salvador, again, says that they would just, charge a small fee per detainee, but there's no clarity on what that means, what that fee would be, and it doesn't appear that any journalists took the time to ask any questions about it. So I also want to take a quick moment to talk about Pele's leadership in El Salvador. He is, the current leader of El Salvador. He came into power back in 2019, and he has received mass support in Latin America over his success in reducing crime. And the way that he reduced crime is he imprisoned gang members. a lot of gang members, not some, a lot of innocent people who didn't commit any crimes and were not part of any gangs were unfortunately caught up in this mess. Bukele has been credited with greatly reducing gang violence in the Central American countries since launching a sweeping crackdown in 2022 that has seen more than 81,000 people jailed. But the U.S. State Department has actually issued a warning to Americans who are thinking about traveling to El Salvador in case they get caught up in this and end up getting arrested, because they claim there's really no due process. Overcrowding, this is from the State Department, overcrowding constitutes a serious threat to prisoners' health and lives. In many facilities, provisions for sanitation, potable water, ventilation, temperature control, and lighting are inadequate or non-existent. And look, it's a prison, so no one's expecting like 5-star accommodations, but basic necessities for survival should be there. And based on our own State Department, that's just not the case.
Yeah. So look, I don't want to get into El Salvador's internal business. So MS-13 is vicious, and the gang problem in El Salvador was out of control. So I get why he's popular, even though I might not agree with some of his tactics. And I would draw the balance in a different place than he drew, right? But I wouldn't be eating salts on MS-13.
No, I wouldn't either.
You need to clean things up so you protect the citizens of El Salvador. But that's not our business at this point. That's their business. And so if they're happy with what he's doing, that's up to them and their democracy and how they want to handle it. We didn't live through the trauma that they lived through those drug wars, etc. Right? But for us, we got nothing to do with this. This is crazy. So we take care of our own business, and if we've got hardened criminals, they serve time here, and then they get deported. Period.
All right, let's move on to a Tom Homan element to this story that I think is important to talk about. So let's get to the video.
In resisting Trump's deportation policies, the governor of New Jersey, Phil Murphy, basically admitted that he knew somebody that didn't have full documentation, that he was hiding over his garage.
I think the governor's pretty true to say myself is I got no letter. Won't let it go. We'll look into it. And if he's knowingly, harboring, concealing, and planning, that's a violation to the United States Code 1324. I will see prosecution, or say to see prosecution.
With mass deportations underway, some Democratic governors are looking to protect undocumented immigrants from ICE and border czar Tom Homan, the individual you just heard from. One of those state leaders is New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy, who suggested that he is protecting a specific person himself. Take a look at what he had to say.
Tammy and I were talking about, I don't want to get into too much detail, but there's someone in our broader universe whose immigration status is not yet at the point that they are trying to get it to. And we said, you know what, let's have her live at our house above our garage. And good luck to the feds coming in to try to get her.
So that is what led to Tom Homan basically threatening potential prosecution against people like the governor you just heard from. And so, man, I don't know what to make of that, Jake. Because really, they're going to go after a governor for stating what he stated there?
Look, they're going to keep going until they become unpopular, and maybe very unpopular. Then Trump likely will turn around. That's what he does. So we explained it ahead of time on the tariff situation, and then it happened exactly as we stated. The markets turn down, he panics, and then he reverses direction. And by the way, what was interesting about the tariffs story is that even Laura Ingraham on Fox News and right-wing media called him out, like, we didn't really get anything, just like we said here on the Uncurbs. Like, it seemed like there was just like a, parlor trick, right?
Yeah, there were like a few little things, but apparently, there were like the big announcements, the big elements of the announcement that we got from Trudeau yesterday were already agreed upon. So the border czar, like Canada's version of a border czar or fentanyl czar, that was new. But as Laura Ingraham shockingly said, she wasn't impressed by that. She doesn't know what that means.
Yeah, and so now back to this. If they go raid the governor's house, After, by the way, complaining about the raid on Mar-a-Lago. And then they go get Anne Frank from his from his attic. It's not going to look great. And my guess is that'll make you look super online. I know right now, MAGA's like in the fervor, like, yeah, let's get them all. We're in charge and let's go round them all up, etc. And they can't see straight, just like the Democrats can't see straight. So, because everybody lives in their own bubbles, they think like the American people have co-signed on every part of the MAGA agenda. That's just not remotely true. So, and they're going to find out the hard way. And when they push too hard, poll numbers are going to slip, and then Trump's going to have to make a decision. Do you keep digging and devolve and go in a terrible direction, or do you pull back up, right? So she's in the attic, man. I mean, look at the symbolism. So it's a terrible idea. By the way, he didn't even clarify what her position is, and I get it. I get that he doesn't want to get her in trouble, etc. But she could have a green card and be really worried, and then you go and bust into his house, and she's perfectly legal.
I know, but look, I know that Governor Murphy is trying to do the right thing, but if you're legitimately trying to protect someone who's scared, then how about you protect that person and not turn them into a prop that you talk about during these like public appearances?
Yeah, because now they're gonna have to move her, right? So, yeah, so it's frustrating.
Yeah.
But all right, look, if they're not gonna listen to me, well, maybe around the edges, maybe 2.5 years from now, but overall, of course, they're not going to listen to anyone who isn't right wing, etc. Certainly in the beginning, right? So they're going to overstep and overstep and overstep until you guys, the American people, correct them. And I'm not the arbiter of where America draws that line. America is. Like, for example, I'm against mass deportations, but right now, 58% of Americans are in favor of mass deportations. So, but you've got to win them back, and Trump will help us win them back when he oversteps.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about Darren Beattie, who has just been hired by Donald Trump. I should say rehired by Donald Trump. And he's got a fascinating record that you want to know about. We'll be right back.
All my wishes came true. Yeah.
We're going to talk about grief. Don't worry, it's Operation Joy. We'll flip it around, but it's an important conversation, so don't miss that. And that's for our members, of course. Wong Johnson also wrote in saying, I've said it a few times, TYT doesn't talk to the right because they're right-wing. They're talking to the right to get people to turn left. And the gatekeepers on the left have a really hard time understanding the difference. Yeah, look, brother, I don't know why it's so hard for them to understand, but we'll talk about it in the bonus episode a little bit because it's related to grief, and that might be part of the answer. But to me, it's so obviously logical. But anyways, and he continues, to them, talking to the other side means getting into a shouting match, and then using those clips to brag about their so-called debating skills.
100%.
And then he says, not naming names, but you know who I'm talking about. But honestly, you could be talking about a lot of folks on that are hosts these days online, right? And so the guy who started this is Ben Shapiro. So he would do a debate, and then they take a 5-second, 10-second, 15-second clip, and then all of his fans would go, oh, Ben Shapiro, oh, you are. And then everybody started owning each other, and then it became a cultural thing for all online hosts. So when you're trying to have an adult conversation with the circus around you going, oh, you got on, subscribe here. That's what happened here. In fact, I think there's another person who wrote in about something along these lines. Yeah. Super chat, Mrs. Richie Blackmore wrote in, I don't understand people criticize you reaching across the aisle, Cenk. Cenk was debating Tucker, Alex Jones, etc. over a decade ago. Why an issue now? Because I remember I interviewed David Duke to see what the hell was going on and why he was supporting Donald Trump back in 2015. Tucker Carlson and I had a huge debate. I never once yelled at him. He didn't yell at me. But everybody that looked at that debate was like, oh my God, like he agreed with everything you're saying. That was a stunning victory because Tucker barely even debated. It was amazing, right? So we've been doing this for the entirety of the Young Turks. So why is everybody flipping out about it now? One is for the actual viewers, etc. There's some trauma with this Trump election, especially the folks who didn't see it coming, right? That's part of the answer. But the other huge part of the answer is there's now an ecosystem of people that, that attack bigger shows. Because unfortunately, guys, and here's, if you're not in the industry, you don't know it, there's no reason to know it. But you'll see guys who have like 200 views, they attack TYT, 100,000 views. It's so hard not to get addicted to that. And look, you remember who originally started that? Stephen Brown. And remember, he dressed up as me, then he dressed up as Hannah, and he realized if you get into the Young Turks algorithm, you're going to grow. So unfortunately, then the left wing didn't realize that, and they thought, yeah, I mean, these guys, and some of them thought, well, these people helped me in my entire career and gave me an opportunity. On the other hand, I just got a lot of clicks on this video.
Stop giving people opportunities.
Yeah, well, so look, I hope that we don't reach that conclusion, but
That's the conclusion I've reached.
I mean, so many folks that we've helped have, decided that those clicks are more important. So it is what it is. But just so you guys know, but it was a great question, right? Why the difference now? Why all of a sudden people are outraged by it now? For the hosts that are pretending to be outraged, or maybe in their mind they really are, that's why. And you'll see it every time. Remember, unsubscribe to them, subscribe to us. Oh, that was subtle. All right, back on TYT, Jane, Anna, and Stanley R. Hopkins. Stanley, thanks for being one of us. Just joined through TYT.com. Anna.
Well, let's get to the next group.
For all the failures that you see, for all the crazy stuff that you see, the question is usually, was this diversity or was this the deep state? Does Kamala look like somebody who can manage inflation? Probably not. If it weren't for the countervailing influence of the non-woke Chinese movie consumer, we'd probably have a transsexual James Bond by now. At the very least, can we expect the government not dump patients in our communities that would rip the heads off of geese?
This is Darren Beatty, a former professor and also a far-right conspiracy theorist, and we'll show you why we labeled him that and others have labeled him that. Unfortunately, Donald Trump has just rehired him to be part of his second administration, despite the fact that he has a long record of saying racist things, saying sexist things. He was appointed to serve as the acting undersecretary for public diplomacy and public affairs, that, according to CNN, is a key role that is responsible for helping shape U.S. messaging abroad related to counterterrorism and violent extremism, according to the State Department website. Great. He actually worked for Trump during his first administration. CNN's K-File reported back in 2018 that Beatty, a former Duke University visiting instructor, spoke in 2016 to the H.L. Mencken Club, a gathering that has included white nationalist figures such as Richard Spencer and Peter Brimlow. Beatty, who was then working as a speechwriter in the Trump White House, defended his speech, claiming it was academic in nature. Now, he was fired from the Trump White House during Trump's first term after that article was published, and after that, Beatty founded the right-wing media outlet known as Revolver News, which is known for spreading some conspiracies about January 6th, the attack on the U.S. Capitol, including allegations that federal agencies orchestrated it. So I guess Donald Trump pardoned a bunch of federal agency members who had orchestrated the January 6th Capitol riots. Now, he's been pretty brazen in his racism. In October, he tweeted the following: "Competent white men must be in charge if you want things to work. Unfortunately, our entire national identity is predicated on coddling the feelings of women and minorities and demoralizing competent white men." On January 6th, he actually cheered on the protesters beating the cops and breaking into the Capitol. He also went on a racially charged Twitter rampage with posts like this. Tim Scott needs to learn his place and take a knee to MAGA.
Tim Scott's a Republican senator.
Republican senator, yes. BLM must take a knee to MAGA. They must learn their place. Ibram Kendi needs to learn his place and take a knee to MAGA. And he's gotta diversify his talking points here a little bit.
But say the last line there too, because that really bothered me. Learn his proper role in our society.
Yeah. Another one, Kate Cole James of Heritage Foundation needs to learn her natural place and take a knee to MAGA. So even those who are on the right, supporters of Donald Trump, not good enough if you're a woman or a person of color.
So now on the conspiracy theory stuff, he thinks the federal government orchestrated January 6th, and that they might have put up some of the extreme groups to do it. Well, now they've been pardoned, so we can ask them, hey, were you working with the FBI? Because MAGA is celebrating those guys who were pardoned. So were they working with the FBI and are the bad guys, or are they the good guys we're celebrating? Which one is it? Well, it doesn't have to make any sense when you're a lunatic like me. This guy's going to do public diplomacy and public affairs for the State Department.
He seems super diplomatic.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm sure you'll appreciate this one, Jake. So this is a tweet from 2023 where he writes, middle-class and working-class white men are treated far worse in America than Uyghurs are in China.
Yeah.
That's the Muslim minority that was forced into re-education camps in China.
Yeah.
How many white men in America are being forced into re-education camps?
Yeah, look, guys, we talked to the working guy and working people in this country.
They are treated like trash.
Yeah, more than anyone. That's more than any private team. Stack us up against any radio show, left-wing show, mainstream show. We want our rates, we want better health care, we want better conditions, we want more freedom, and we want the working class to have justice in this country, okay? But they're not in concentration camps in China. What kind of ludicrous song is this? And so, okay, but most importantly, let's take a knee, get on your knees. What kind of weirdo pervert loser is this guy? So, a black professor should know this in our society. No, brother, it's all of our society. But I know you don't believe that because that's not an accident that you went to white nationalists get together. Because every statement that we just read you was and by the way, who did see it on the Republican side? Oh, the black senator from South Carolina. Oh, well, you know, so now, in my opinion, as some of you might have seen in these super public fights recently, our side screaming, racist, fascist, Nazi, and everything is not helpful.
Exactly. Because when the real disgusting racist and sexist like this guy come around, well, the American public's fatigued from hearing the argument being directed at everyone.
100% they don't believe it because they cry wolf too much, right? That's too easy. The guys who say, well, no, you don't call anyone racist. Well, I don't give a goddamn what you think I'm allowed to do or not, right? But I'm going to call people who are racist, and I'm not going to call people racist just on a blanket assumption. Okay, that is not at all helpful. But this guy constantly telling black people to get on their knees and build their role in society and telling women the same thing, etc. I got no interest in that. He's obviously a racist. I'm not saying 1%. And if, by the way, if you're right-wing and you think this guy, you're telling on yourself.
Yeah. There's just one more point that I want to share with you all. So this guy is so deplorable that even some Republicans are saying, you know, maybe we should reconsider. Maybe this in the first term. And here's New York Congresswoman Nicole Malliotakis. Okay, Republican, not a Democrat. Take a look.
I don't know who this guy is, quite frankly. Well, all I'll say is, look, I defended Elon Musk tonight. I defended the Trump tariffs. I thought it was a good thing. It's getting our border secure, getting the job done. I don't know who this guy is. And certainly what you put up there, what he said, I think is inappropriate and disrespectful, and maybe he should be considering that. But I think we need to be cautious, the people that we put into these positions of influence and power, and we need to make sure that they are going to be respectful of our nation's values. And it just seems to me that I don't know where this guy came from, quite frankly, so I'm not going to stand here and defend him.
And look, Susie Wiles managed to professionalize Donald Trump's campaign. I mean, it was certainly different from his 2016 campaign, which was far more chaotic and out of control. She seems to have, Trump under control in his second term to some extent, but I'm kind of shocked that she let this fly. This is not a good look for Trump.
That's funny you said that, Dana, because I thought Susie Wiles' luxury dog.
Yeah.
Because she's the one that is, for better or for worse, keeping the things in line, right? And I say for better or for worse because I don't know that you want Trump to be overly efficient, and do the things that he really wants to do in a way where he
will succeed.
Will succeed and won't get caught, etc. Right? This is them getting caught. This is them saying, we love white nationalists, that's why we think so. By the way, there's another story in today's rundown. Very similar now. So a couple of guys now that they're saying, like, there are no blue stops anymore. We're spraying like white nationalists. Public diplomacy for us. By the way, I have a quick prediction for you guys. And maybe this explains why Susie Wiles allowed it, or maybe it got past her, I don't know, right? I guarantee you this guy mainly says horrible things about every Muslim nation, about Palestinians, and does propaganda saying that America should hate all Muslims, and that'll be his public diplomacy. Because if you're looking for someone who's got no boundaries and no brakes in the car, and you want the Muslims in the world attacked, then maybe you pick this guy.
Well, Democrats have also slammed him. Obviously, they would slam him, including Representative Jasmine Crockett. Here is her reaction to his tweet insisting that competent white men must be in charge.
He needs to go. The counseling is for the white boys. That's what's happening right now. I am tired of the white tears. Listen, if you are competent, you are not concerned. When I walk into Congress every single day, you know why I don't feel away and why they can't make me doubt who I am? It's because I know that I had to work 10 times as hard as they did just to get into the seat. And when you look and you compare me to Marjorie Taylor Greene or me to Laura Boebert, there is no comparison. And that is the life that we have always lived. So the only people that are dying are the mediocre white boys that have been beaten out by people that historically have had to work so hard.
She's getting a lot of applause for that, and I can understand why. You want to fight against disgusting racists. I don't generalizing about any race, and I don't think it's helpful, and I think it leads to backlash, but I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
No, I agree. So, the reason we like Jasmine Crockett is because she's strong, and I respect that. And I like that she's punching back, and that's the perfect guy to punch back against. So I appreciate all that. But when she says, the mediocre white boys, I don't want to talk about media anymore. And now you made it general, and now we're back to not being more like them. And so I don't think that's effective, and I think it turns people off. And then this is the most winnable fight in the world. So don't, please, that's counterproductive.
Passion, and I think that, she's well spoken, and she has, the righteous take here, with the exception of the generalization of of a race, right? So, take that part out. It was perfect. Totally fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, minorities sometimes have to work harder to get to their place, to their roles they're in, the status they're in. And that's why it's deeply frustrating when people say, this must be because of DEI or affirmative action. And that drives me crazy, right? But the right answer to that isn't, white boys are mediocre, etc. The right answer is equality of opportunity and get rid of people like Beatty, and let's get back to a fair and just society.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll give you an update on the confirmation of RFK Jr. and 4. Don't miss it.
Okay, here we go. Let's go to the super chat. Sean Morris has said, LTV here, in my opinion, clown sharks have always existed. What has changed is your attitude towards them. I won't pay for a membership again until that changes. Hey, Sean, I love your brother, but you're not going to pay for a membership again, man. So my attitude isn't changing to clout sharks. I'm not going to be like, oh, clout sharks, I would like to be pleasant to you. No, why do I have an obligation to do that? Why don't you go tell them, hey, why don't you stop me, etc., etc., okay? And why don't you try to be honest for the first time in your life? Hey, I just tuned into the Youngsters today, 5, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern, and they took Trump's head off. Why did you guys all lie to me and said they were right-wingers? They took his head off on 8 different stories. Why did you guys all lie? Are you ever going to ask them that? Okay, but that's all right. Everybody's different, Sean. You take your time. You do whatever you think is right. Titan says, I don't entertain TYT bashing bits. I block the channel immediately. If the headline is BS, I don't even give it a chance. TYT has earned my trust. They haven't. Legit critiques are okay, but not grifting. So we've been here, what, now 23 years? Longest running show in internet history. About to get into our 20th year of being out doing online video. You've seen us prove that trust over and over and over and over again. But somebody showed up 13 days ago and decided, oh yeah, I know better. All right, let's see how it turns out. We'll see you guys in another 20 years. Oh, that's right, we won't. Okay, Stop the Madness says, I'm livid listening to Netanyahu Trump joint press conference. Truly disgusted, and none of this is America first, by the way.
So
thank you.
A pretty damning story broke as we were on air. One of our producers, Taylor, is working on it. Trump is suggesting American boots on the ground in Gaza. I'm not kidding. So we're going to get you that story. We're working on it as we speak.
Yeah, they had a deal, told you. Phil J. Trade schools cost money too. They use student loans as well. Titan. Jake, I hear you when you say stay, but the biggest thing that demoralized me isn't Trump and politicians. It's the voters. We're challenged every inch by the cults over common sense issues. It's exhausting. Titan, don't get discouraged. I hear you, right? But look, now with online media, there's all sorts of options. So if you want cults, you can have cults. But if you want honesty, there's also that option, which didn't exist before mainstream media. And the media is driving the cults. So then choose media that's open-minded and honest with you. All right, I gotta go. Just so many I'm not gonna get to. We're gonna do Operation Joy in the bonus episode, but I'll read a couple more comments as well. So many of you wrote in. And tomorrow, after the bonus episode, for members, we're gonna do Operation Hope, where you guys are gonna get to see the town hall. If you want to participate, tyt.com/hope. Prize Picks, they're one of our sponsors. You know the big game's almost here, so this is basically your last chance to win cash while watching a big game, at least in football. There's basketball and others too, of course. Download that today and use code TYT to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code TYT to get $50 after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
I'm going to go to a big game party. And during that big game party, I want to be engaged in the big game, which I otherwise wouldn't be. So you got to let me know what kind of bet thing I got to do.
Okay, so that's for something else. And
that's okay.
But Prize Picks, well, let's talk about that too, because they do like more or less yards, and I love it. All right, we'll see you guys next time. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. Listen, by the way, if you want to help the show, God bless your heart. There's, joining is for members, and you get all of our coverage, etc. But you can just subscribe for free or ring the bell, and that way you get notices when we go live or do videos. But not all of them, just select ones. So ring that bell if you can. All right, thank you guys. Anna, what's next?
Let's talk a little bit about where RFK Jr. currently stands on his confirmation process.
This warrant now is just Mr. Chairman, the vote is 14 out of his 13 names. The vote is 14-13. The nomination is recorded.
Smarty said Senate Finance Committee voted to advance RFK Jr.'s nomination as Health and Human Services Secretary in the Trump administration. The 14 to 13 vote was divided along party lines. Kennedy's victory came after he managed to win over a Republican senator, Bill Cassidy, who was kind of on the fence about it. Cassidy is a doctor, and last week he had signaled that he had some reservations and some serious